What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? Ladies and gentlemen, it is your man, Jelani JB Bodie, host of this thing called the Wait a Minute Show, back in the building once again. To give you a sports fix, to talk about sports, talk about other things, argue, debate, comment, disagree, and all that. And, all put into one big bunch of a podcast, which is this show. So before we do anything, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications and everything. Make sure you're sharing this out there in the world, as you see right there, the arrow popping up, and contribute, right? So a couple things we're going to talk about before we really get into all the topics that we're going to discuss. Get it out the way so people don't be like, oh, you fugazi, Jelani, but props to the New York Liberty, man, for winning the WNBA championship. They beat the Minnesota Lynx. I think this happened the way that they wanted it to. They wanted to go through the champs, to get to winning the championship. So I think it means even more for them to be able to beat the Aces and then see the Lynx and beat them. So props to the ladies there. It's going to be an awesome season next year because Juju's coming. Among others, Caitlin Clark will be back. We're expecting a lot of things to go on there, but also we have the World Series set, the LA Dodgers versus New York Yankees. So that's going to be crazy. That everybody's going to be talking about. So congratulations to them to getting to this point, but there only can be only one winner at this point. So we'll find out who that is. So I want to be respectful before we moved into everything, but also, before we touch anything, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, it's not just me. You ain't got to deal with just me today. It is Big Mo that's in the building. There he is. What up, Mo?
I'm in a bad mood today, JB. I'm in a real bad mood, man. No, listen, man. My Saturday, I was all the way up here, right?
Yeah.
Then by probably about 6:30 yesterday, it got ugly, man. So I'm in a bad mood, man. So I'm ready to argue with you all day today, man.
All right.
Matter of fact, just don't even say nothing out the way. We talked about this off camera. I'm giving you another opportunity to just not say nothing out the way, man, because I don't want to turn your show sideways.
Well, we can, just like The Rock, we can flip it over, turn it sideways, and do all that stuff. So you be ready. Right. Be ready, because I'm going to be ready.
Okay.
So, hey, Mo's ready to go, so you might as well just stay. Well, you know what? I give you a break before I bring you back in. But let's move into our first topic, and that is week 7 of the NFL. We had a lot of stuff that was going on in it. So I want to touch base first before we get into some of the matchups that happened this past weekend in Cleveland, in the situation when it comes to Deshaun Watson, and everything. And everybody's been talking about how Cleveland fans reacted, the chanting, of him while he was hurt and everything. And it's just like, okay, look, those people that was out there chanting that he deserved it and all this stuff, these were the same people that was excited for him to be there. These were the same people that wanted him to be the Deshaun Watson, in Houston and all this stuff, and supported him and all this stuff. So they were fugazi to begin with, in this situation. And because he's not playing the way that you want him to play, then you're going to cheer on, or you're going to, say comments like this. Look, then I understand that some of this comes from people who didn't approve of the things that happened with Deshaun Watson, but that don't make you any better, by acting like that. So that to me was, real fugazi, in it. We lost, some people for the season, which sucks. One of them is Brandon Ayuk for Mo's 49ers. We'll get into them in just a moment. But it's just, here's the thing. This is why guys want to get their deals done, right? Just in the untimely event that something, like that, happens. So it's always bad, when stuff like that happens. You don't want any of that to happen to anybody. I know from last week, losing Aiden Hutchinson and everything. So unfortunately, injuries are a part of the game, and it happens. So hopefully, BA will be able to get back on the up and up and get back, next year and back at them, right? But let's talk about some matchups, right? And let's start with my favorite team, the Detroit Lions, right? Which, they really didn't get the shine that I thought they would have got this week. And I understand, because there was another matchup, which we're going to touch base on here. And I know we're going to see Mo's face. But props to the Lions in this matchup against the Minnesota Vikings, actually taking down the Minnesota Vikings, winning 31-29 in a close game where they had the lead, lost the lead, and got the lead, back on the road against the Minnesota Vikings, which they've already beat twice last year. So they've kind of had their number. And Jared Goff is really, really, really playing well right now, right? And we knew Detroit was going to be a team that was going to be a factor this year, but I think they're building steam as far as scaring folks, right? It's not to the degree that everybody is just, really ready to bow down to Detroit. They're going to have to take that. They're not going to be able to just go in there and just think that them showing up, everybody's going to fall apart. But this game against Minnesota, it was a great test because Brian Flores and that defense had been hassling people all season long. They were able to, again, they lost the lead, got back in, overcome some turnovers by David Montgomery, with this team. So this is a good win, for Detroit. The NFC North right now is the toughest division in all of football. So to win a division game, obviously beat somebody that was undefeated is going to do wonders. Now, this doesn't change anything for Minnesota as well. I didn't have them going undefeated. So their first game, I'm not going to, if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm not going to lose my mind, about it, especially who they lost to. It'd be different if you lost to, some of the other teams out there. But Minnesota is still in a good spot. They still got a great defense. Aaron Jones played where we thought he wasn't going to play and played well. And if Sam Darnold stays consistent, they'll be there, near the end and everything. And surprising to me, because again, I didn't expect this out of Minnesota Vikings, but we got a really good matchup, and we're going to get those, especially some more NFC North divisions. So let's touch base on, and here he comes, Mo, the rematch, the Super Bowl rematch, and why the Lions weren't the primetime game. And I understand is because you had the Kansas City Chiefs coming to California to take on the San Francisco 49ers. So I know we're going to spend a little bit of time here, and I'm going to make a little bit of extra time for Mo, to say whatever it is that he want to say. But the first thing I want to say more than anything before we start talking about the matchup, y'all are going to be respectful to my man Mustafa playing for San Francisco. Everybody saw the truck. Everybody saw Pat Mahomes lay the thunder and all that stuff. But if you watch that game, you got to give Mustafa his respect because he was out there thumping folks, right? You're not going to win all of them. The only thing that went bad for him is because there's two positions. We all know it's two positions that you can't get trucked. You can't get trucked by the quarterback, and you can't get trucked by a kicker or a punter. I put them all in the in the same category, and that's just unfortunately what happened. But look, Mustafa was out there. He had laid the wood to I think Worthy. He had put that heat, on Kareem Hunt as well. He was playing out of his mind. He just kind of got caught, right? It happens. But I just want to say that, man, because everybody been giving him grief and everything. It just happens. Everybody, even LeBron got dunked on. So let's talk about the matchup, though, Mo. All right. This is the fifth time as far as Kyle Shanahan taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And in this matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, found another way to win this game. I'm not going to say, because none of these games that I've seen that I can remember is that Kansas City dominated and just blew the doors off of San Fran. They dealing with injuries. Everybody's dealing with injuries. Kansas City was missing Rashee Rice, missing they had another receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they never got Hollywood Brown to play a game because he got injured in the preseason. Pacheco was not there. So they were dealing with injuries just like San Francisco was. But at the end of the day, they still had Pat Mahomes, and he was able to find a way. And I think this more is about Spags than anything because he kept that pressure on San Francisco. He controlled the run game, which Kyle Shanahan is known to do and be effective with whoever's in that backfield. We've seen that against Seattle the week before and other teams. And I just think Kansas City did a really good job because they were, I think, fifth against the run. So they slowed that down, made Brock a little bit one-dimensional and put pressure, on him that he normally wouldn't have to deal with. So I just think with this matchup between them is that mentally, I'm gonna say that they're in Kansas City. They're in San Francisco's head to a certain degree. Obviously, they feel that they can beat them, but at this point, they haven't been able to prove it. Mo, I know you got something to say, so let's go ahead and argue right now. And you need to take yourself off mute.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna argue with you. What I will do is I'm gonna step out of my I'm gonna take my fan uniform off, right?
Take it off,
I'm gonna take
please.
it off for the moment, right?
Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna say this. First of all, you gotta respect Kansas City because you said it a minute ago. They find a way to win. They keep finding ways to win. But let me say this: not all injuries are the same, right? You mentioned all of these injuries.
Mhm.
Us being hurt is not the same. I'm sorry, I'm out my fan uniform. The 49ers being hurt is not the same as Kansas City being hurt. I mean, they hadn't had who was it, Hollywood? They hadn't there's players that they haven't had all season long who hadn't played a game, right? Now
Exactly.
we go into the season for the most part healthy. I mean, of course, McCaffrey is not healthy, but they've been game planning with the pieces that they have. And when you got to constantly keep making these adjustments because you keep losing players, you're not going in the game as prepared. You got to kind of figure out what's going to happen with this guy. We got Ricky Purcell coming in, so we don't really know what we're gonna get from him. So
Mhm.
let's see what's up. But then you got players who sat out, who held out, who has not performed to their potential
Go
so
ahead and
far
say the
this season.
name. Don't say players. Go ahead and say the
Oh,
name.
nah, because now I got to put my fan uniform back on. I say Brandon Ayuk. I'm gonna say something like, "Listen, I'm about tired. I'm done with him. Let him go. Let him go. We could have kept that money and did something else with it. But I'm out of the fan uniform, right?
Okay. All
So I'm
right.
gonna just say that. Listen, it's scary hours for the 49ers right now. I think they'll find a way to turn it around and hopefully pick up a wild card. But hey, this is the week where you panic, and I get it. You played Kansas City, but that game couldn't have come at a worse time. The injuries couldn't have come at a worse time, right? You just won a game last week that put you on top of the division. Then you lose this game, and now it's. I mean, come on, you saw what happened in the league across the league yesterday.
Right. Here's where I'm going to push back on that a little bit, though.
What are you
Right.
pushing back on as far as it's time to panic?
No, it's definitely time to
Yeah,
start panicking a little bit, but you got to a certain degree, you got a little bit of a get right game coming up with the Cowboys next week, right? I think they're going to take out their aggression, on them. But here's why I'm pushing back on that a little bit, though, is that because you talked about the injuries and everything, and you alluded to that Kansas City is dealing with injuries as well. Um, my thing is though is that those adjustments that they were able to make, even in that game, losing people because Kansas City was losing players just like San Fran. Debo only played a few snaps, and then Ayuk got hurt. So I think ultimately this still goes back to is that Andy Reid and Spags are making these adjustments that Kyle Shanahan and company are not able to match, right? Kyle Shanahan, no one's going to criticize as far as like whether he's a good coach or not.
I
Everybody knows.
am.
Well,
I
I
am.
know you. I know you will. I know you will. But I'm saying is that there is at times it's like this is the opportunity where it's like you have to figure it out because if you don't figure it out now, you can't continue to say, and I'm not saying you, Mo, but I'm saying, 49er fans can't continue to say, well, we don't have our guys because they traded away all pro corner to the Tennessee Titans and Ladarius Sneed. And that you had McDuffie and Sneed on the back end. Now you got McDuffie and other guys were stepping in. Other guys were making plays, on that defensive side of the ball. So I would argue that there's more names on that defensive side of the ball with San Francisco that we know than with Kansas City. Maybe close in proximity, but
Mm.
I do think for these adjustments that need to be made. San Fran was at home again, and they started out well. and things just kind of start falling apart. And I do think to a certain degree it was kind of in their head that here we go again. It's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pat Mahomes running up that sideline where he looked like he was about to go out, I think that did something, to San Fran
But that's what
at
I'm.
that point.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. That's
But
all.
see,
That's all.
that's what I mean when I say San Fran's injuries are different from the Chiefs' injuries. Because another reason is number one, Andy Reid is a better coach than Kyle Shanahan, right?
Yeah.
Better coach. I mean, you're not going to argue with me on that.
No, I'm not going to argue with that.
Pat Mahomes is head and shoulders above Brock Purdy.
I'm not
Almost
going to argue with
head
that.
and shoulders above almost anybody in the league. And
Right.
so if you start losing pieces, star pieces, key pieces, like San Francisco is losing, it's going to be a lot more difficult to recover as opposed to if it's Kansas City. It's like, okay, we still got Pat, we still got Kelsey. We're going to get it done. We're going to figure it out. We're going to find a way to win the same way they've been doing for the last 7, 8 games or whatever. It's just different. It's different, man. It's different. And I mean, I get, but it's the league. You're going to lose players. It's next man up. You got to do what you got to do. It's not necessarily an excuse more so than a fact, right?
Right.
And when that happened, it's like, okay, all the life just went out the room.
Yeah, but I would say then, for 49er fans, then you need to take yourself out of that tier when we start talking about the top, because Kansas City is they're in a league of their own. I think no one's going to argue that.
You
The
couldn't wait to
one
say
thing,
that.
huh?
You couldn't wait to say that. Go ahead.
No, but I'm saying the one team that anybody would have put in that tier to say, you know what, I have to put another team in there with Kansas City. It's San Francisco.
When healthy.
You're gonna have people that's gonna push back on San Fran. Obviously, with Detroit. Obviously, with you have people that push back even with the Ravens. And a few other teams. It's just a small amount. It's not that big of an amount. When it comes to it, but um I'm just saying that if it is, we have to be healthy. You got to take yourself out of that tier then, because Kansas City is showing we're not healthy.
I get it.
Pat Mahomes is not throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns like he was back in the day. He's finding a way to win. He's learning to be effective. And he's unlocked the code basically to the point of I can still impact this game without throwing for 500 yards.
Right.
And that's where the San Francisco 49ers have to get to, and they're not there right now. And until they do that, they got their number. It's always going to be they're the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chiefs are the Bulls and Jordan, finding a way, no matter what, finding a way on it. Do they got the skill set? Absolutely, on it. But they got to they got to show it. Everybody got to show it. I mean, we last year with the Lions, you got to show it. You can do everything but we didn't finish the deal with San Fran. And San Fran, they stayed the course and they end up going to the Super Bowl last year. So
I'm
it's the
not
same
accepting
thing.
the fact
that
we have to take. I'm not accepting the fact that we got to come out of that tip. As a fan, I'm putting my fan uniform back on now.
Put it back on. Put
I'm
it back
tired
on.
of losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kyle Shanahan, we tired of losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. And you're right. I mean, the scary part about it is when you're dealing, especially with this matchup and any matchup with elite teams, if we got to be 100% healthy, it's scary because, I mean, we lose Brandon Ayuk. Granted, he wasn't playing well, right? Debo always seems to be hurt. I mean, we in a game, we lose all our quarterbacks in the same game, right? Going up against the Eagles, stuff like that. We tired of that. I don't know what's going on with that training staff, but hey, get them boys some milk, some Pedialyte, do some extra push-ups or whatever. Do what need to be done because you can't have this much talent and you keep going to the prom and it don't, you don't get the cherry on top at the end of the night, right? So we got to figure it out.
It's so funny you just said that about all the talent in the world, because that leads me into Sunday night's game, which is the Jets versus the Steelers, right? And talent. No one's going to question the talent for the New York Jets. But
I
this
am.
is what this is what I said last week, and Mo, you wasn't here, for that, but you might have seen it. Check out last week's episode. But for those who haven't, the thing that was concerning to me is exactly what happened Sunday night with the Jets. No matter how talented you are still making mistakes. Your false starts, you're throwing interceptions, you're miscommunication. You got Garrett Wilson, balls, as Fish would say, balls bouncing off his chest, and that's turning into an interception. Anything that would have deflated this offense, that is what's happening, right? And now in the Pittsburgh Steelers team, they had some offensive production, which put the defense in a compromising position as well. Now
Mhm.
you still had some injuries and everything, but I'm not letting them off the hook. You pushed all your chips in the middle of the table. You got rid of Robert Saleh over the last 2 weeks. You done gave up a ton of points to two teams. At this point, maybe Robert Saleh would have had something to say about that or something to do about that. But then here's the other thing. You put Coach Uber, who has not had any desire to be a head coach. You have to want that. That's not something that you just come in one morning
Mhm.
and then just say, you know what? I'm the head coach. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna figure this out. He's at a big disadvantage. And I give him all the credit where it's not his fault. It's not his fault at all. He's trying to do the best job he can. But for a head coach themselves that have years of experience, that's a hard task. But you're not tasked with keeping this team together. You're not tasked with winning the division. This guy is tasked with winning a Super Bowl this year because your owner, Woody Johnson, pushed all the chips in the middle of the table. You got Hassan Reddick coming. You traded for Devontae, and the same stuff continues to happen with this team. So it's not about talent when it comes to me, because when you look at it, Brees Hall and Lazard and Williams and Wilson and now Adams, and you got the guy that's heading at Aaron Rodgers, who has not been playing well, and Aaron wasn't even playing well his last season in Green Bay. I'm just saying is that I don't. That's why I was saying last week, I don't believe it until I can see it consistently. You can have all the talent that you want on paper, but until you go out there and mentally and not make the mistakes that has doomed this team, you're gonna continue to have these situations on it. And Pittsburgh showed a prime example of that. Is that they stayed the course, they kept working, they got contributions from all three phases of the team, and they were able to turn it around in the second half to the tune of what 30. I think it was 30, 31 unanswered points after
Mhm.
New York had won. New York had put up 15 points. So it's just like this Jets team. You're 2-5, and you Ulrich said that's not who we are. Yes, it is, Coach. You are 2-5. That is what you are, because to your team continue to make the same mistakes. And until they stop doing that, which everyone has the talent, but until you stop doing that, nobody's going to sit here and just say, oh, the Jets can, turn it around, because the rest of your schedule, you lost to Denver, a team you beat last year with Zach Wilson. So
Who was to
nothing
blame?
is guaranteed. Nothing is a good to go, or we got this week in and week out for the Jets until you actually prove it and put it together. You have to do it.
Who do you blame? Who do you blame?
I
It's
think
only one right answer.
it's a nucleus. It's a nucleus, because I'm gonna go back to last year. This is why it's a group thing. You can put it on the coach. You can put it on the owner. Definitely, you can put it on Aaron Rodgers this year. He said it himself. He's not playing up to his standards. Absolutely, because that is not why they brought you in. But where I think this is, Mo, and I'm going to say this, and I joke around a lot, but one of the things that I believe in is karma. I believe in karma, and I think last year, Listen, follow me on this. Go with me on this.
Okay, let me see where you're going.
Last year, when their season was ending, when they weren't going to make the playoffs, and those rumors came out about them being able to possibly get Aaron Rodgers, and you had Zach Wilson on your team, your quarterback, and you were actively, I'm talking about Brees Hall and them, they were actively recruiting Aaron Rodgers while you got your quarterback, basically saying this is what we could do if we got a quarterback, and then you get Hard Knocks. And when Aaron Rodgers showed up and how everybody was like Michael Jackson had showed up. Everybody was fainting and all this stuff. To me,
Mm.
that was karma. And then he gets hurt, and now you got to go back to Zach. And then they put the blame on Zach. I'm not saying that Zach didn't have, something to do, with that. But now you got to go back to the guy that you basically said you don't want. Oh, you're our guy. You're our guy. Come on. We're going to rally around, Zach and everything. I think right now, last year, they had a better record with Zach Wilson than they do
He
with
did.
Aaron Rodgers. So this is why I'm saying I believe in karma. You out there actively recruiting, and this is what is transpiring. From that is that you took a risk. It's not working out right now. You took even more of a risk. It's not working out right now. You try and get Hassan Reddick. He don't want to come in. I'm just saying that's why I'm saying it's a nucleus. It's more than just one person. But I think you're gonna say it's Aaron Rodgers.
I think Aaron Rodgers is part of the problem. It's just a
Mhm.
bad organization. And this is what bad organizations look like. I mean, you can have a ton of talent, but you just make horrible decision after horrible decision. What's the one thing that can bring down a team with that kind of talent on it? Right? We both agree it's a talented team, right?
Yes, talented, very
What's the one
talented.
thing that can bring that team down?
Shooting
A
yourself in the
bad
foot.
a bad decision by
Mhm.
bringing in a quarterback that number one, his personality is not one that's going to translate well in most locker rooms, in my opinion. But he get out there, he playing bad, and don't want to take any accountability. Right? You shifting the blame, and then you try to sweeten it up by making little comments like, "Yeah, I got to play better." Well, you just threw everybody under the bus, right? So when you out here, I mean, he's thrown a lot of interceptions, and I get it. A lot of those interceptions come from drop passes, right? But hey, man, bring them boys together. Y'all get out there, have some solid practices, and figure it out. I mean, I think he got something left in the tank. He'll never be MVP Aaron Rodgers again. But
Mhm.
I mean, a bad organization will allow something like that to take place. And I don't want to hear nothing about it's Aaron Rodgers, so he kind of get his way. Nah,
And,
it, it's
and,
it's
and
it's time out for that.
it's funny that you say that because I think for this to work out, Aaron Rodgers is going like you just said. Aaron Rodgers he can't be the Aaron Rodgers of 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if that's possible or not, which is not bad. He's 40. I think he has to
Right.
figure this out the same way that Peyton Manning figured it out. Peyton played that championship in Denver that they won. It was not because Peyton was out there throwing for 400 yards like he was in Indianapolis.
Mhm.
He was playing that as far as like, you know what? I'm gonna throw this ball in the ground and we're gonna live to the next down and we just gonna, I'm gonna figure it out. And I think it's items like that. So it's kind of, adjusting to maybe some of the things that that he did before and just like, nah, I can't do that anymore. I shouldn't, do that anymore. But yeah, they shoot themselves in the foot time and time again.
Mhm.
Against the Steelers was a prime example. Just they,
Joe
I think
Russell
they had
Wilson some love.
Russell Wilson. He had folks scared at the beginning though. they, were
Yeah,
like, they were like, maybe we should have played Justin, but the brother was coming back. He had to shake the rust
yeah.
off, and
Give
after
him
he
a, give
shook
him
the
give him
rust
time to
off,
get in the rhythm.
yeah, he got into a rhythm. But the one thing I will say with Russell Wilson that he does that you don't get with Justin Fields is that downfield threat. And I think they were talking about this. I think it was Teddy Bruschi was talking about this. Uh, is that just the mere fact of being a threat of going downfield does wonders for the entire team, especially the running backs, because now you have to respect that down the field threat that you have in
Hmm.
George Pickens, which we saw him go for 111 yards and a tutty, on it, which opened it up for guys like Najee. to put up 100 yards as well against a really good, New York Jets defense, on it. So yeah, props to Russell Wilson. He added a different dynamic than what Justin Fields, added. And I know some people said Justin should have, kept playing. I get why, but also we got to remember that um, Russell, more than we figured, Russell was going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers, if not for that calf injury. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of Mike Tomlin was kind of thinking as well. Is just like, look, he didn't lose the job, he got injured, so we're gonna go back to him. And somebody else brought up a good point of that the way that they were winning games, are you going to be able to win that in your division against a Cincinnati or against a Baltimore Ravens team that put up
Yeah.
points like that? And that's credit to Mike Tomlin to be like, you know what, we really got to start getting this thing rolling. We
Mm-hmm.
need to start doing that, and that's Russell Wilson. It's one game, but we'll see, how the next few games, go. And if they need to
That's a
go back
solid
to Justin,
win.
Tomlin will do it.
Yeah, it is. I'm happy for Russell Wilson. I'm happy for Mike Tomlin, man. I mean, he needed that.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
start putting him on the hot seat.
Hey, you know what? Somebody else that needed something was the W. So let's go to college and end the NCAA football we got. And appreciate you, Mo, for not yelling at me about your 49ers. But we got two items here. Bama and Georgia, right? Georgia. Georgia win, Alabama loses. So I'm going to start with Alabama first, right? Uh, here's what I'm going to say about Alabama. One, this is not like they went against, a lower threshold D1 school. Tennessee is a good school, and Tennessee defense was playing outstanding. Now, for Alabama, though, the standards which have been set by one Nick Saban, right? And I was telling a friend about this as well as that. I said I would not be surprised if Bama fans is trying to get DeBar out of there already before the end of the season. And Stephen A comes on First Take, and he's speaking about maybe DeBoer should be gone on it. That's Stephen A talking. So if Stephen A is saying that, I definitely know that Alabama fans is probably speaking of this, but I want to say it's just a standard that has been set. Now, let's not forget, Alabama was sorry before Nick Saban got there. That's the whole point of how Nick Saban ended up getting there, and he turned that program around. It took him time to turn around, but he did not have the same caliber of players that he had. I'm not putting it all on DeBoer. You still got, to me, in that game that I think Ryan Williams had. I think he had double digit targets. I think he might have been targeted 15, 16 times, in that game. I understand he, has had some very impressive moments, but the kid is still a young freshman as well. So it's still things that he needs to learn as well. So getting that contribution from other guys on that team is, I think, is something that they needed. But this is also, I was talking about this last week episode, is that this transfer portal, I think that also plays an effect, that you have some quality people that are on the other side, of that football. But at the end of the day, is that the standard is set for Alabama. You got 2 losses. That's unacceptable. You normally it's one. Now they have to run the table. I believe if they win all their games, they're sitting at, I think, 17th right now or 15th right now. If they win all their games, I think they can slide into that 12th or 11th spot. Some things have to happen for them. We saw some things happen last year for them, and they still were able to get into it. But congratulations to Tennessee for bouncing back as well, and keeping a clamp on Jalen Milroe, slowing him down in that Alabama offense as well, and Alabama defense, um, not the same, right? It's not the same, just what we've been used to, but it is. It's this is where they're at right now. But they still got an opportunity. In Georgia, speaking of opportunity, they took that opportunity and ran with it in Texas, and put the dust, the brakes, or whatever else that you could say, to Texas. And this was the one team that I thought Georgia could beat Texas. If I figured if Texas got past Georgia, they would probably finish number one for the rest of the season. But Georgia knew they couldn't lose, 2 games. They had some sloppy games to begin with, and they got after Texas. It didn't matter who was, in there. Ewers was in there. Arch put it. Everybody thought, oh, here we go with Arch Manning. They say, you know what, Arch finna get this work. And you know what, Cooper, Eli, Peyton, and Archie, all of them, if they want to come out here, they're gonna get it, as well too. So it didn't matter who they put out there, other than probably Lamar Jackson that probably would have been able to win that game against Georgia. It was just Georgia's night. They put a great game plan together. Kirby Smart and them knew what they wanted to do. And I'm talking about on the defensive side. Offensive, they still kind of had, some of their struggles, on it, but they kept themselves in the mix, got themselves back up to, I think they're number 2 right now, which they're in prime position to possibly get back into that number 1 spot because Oregon is sitting there. So those were 2 games. I think that was pretty good. Miami and Louisville was really good as well, going back and forth. Mo, I don't know if you saw that, but Cam Ward, bro, that dude, he every time he needed to answer the bell, he answered the bell. So Cam Ward, did some damage when they played Miami against Louisville as well. So uh, what's going to happen this week, in college football. Another thing before we move on, props to Colorado. They sitting at 5-2 right now. So well on their way. I don't want to jinx them or anything like that, but well on their way to being bowl eligible this coming season. So looks like they're, turning things around and continue to improve. And more credit is going to be given to Coach Prime out there in Colorado. So proving people wrong, proving the naysayers wrong out there. Let's move off of college. I really want to talk about this in the NBA because the season is getting ready to start pretty soon. But we got a discussion point that was brought up by one KG, the big ticket. Kevin Garnett was on social media and he was talking about Joel Embiid in reference to Joel Embiid speaking about back-to-backs. I guess Joel Embiid is not doing any back-to-backs this season. And KG really was not feeling that, was really not on board with that. He talked about not comparing the eras, just show the respect to the players, but don't start saying this person is better than this person and all this stuff. And I'm gonna say this, Mo. I'm with KG on this. As far as coming out, if you're a player and you have already determined before the season started, I'm not playing any back to backs. I think that's a problem, right? And I've been a person that has been on the player side a lot and defended them, on a lot of things and saying, hey, you got to understand this. But at the end of the day, the season is 82 games. Your employment is for 82 games, and the playoffs are bonus because everybody's not going to make the playoffs. So I got the mindset again. I'm a little bit older. I'm in that age group with KG. Is that if the season is 82 games, I'm playing 82 games unless I'm injured. I'm not saying, well, I gotta do some load management, or well, the analytical people says this, that, and the third, and all this stuff. If they start talking about, and I hate to do this, but if they start talking about, well, you know what, we're gonna prorate you for the games that you play. Ain't no player gonna want to hear that. They ain't gonna be want to feel that. And I think also that can cause a divide between teammates. Also, that can get you out of your groove. That can, maybe determine a playoff seeding as well. Because if you're out on your back to backs, and let's say you lose half of those, because I think they said it's maybe like 15 back to backs in the season or whatever. Let's say you lose half of those, right? That's 7, 8 games, and then you finish 2, 3 games, out of third or fourth or second or something like that, or first. Those games matter. Those games matter. So it's like, you're sacrificing that for possibly, making up for it, once when the play, because this is what it's about. It's not, no one's taking load management to say, I need to get through the regular season and then go on vacation. Obviously, this load management is supposed to get you ready, for the playoffs. But is it really actually getting you ready? Is it really that much of a benefit? So I'm old school. I'm with KG on this one. Is that, look, it's 82 games. I'm playing 82 games unless there is an injury that's going to prevent me. I if I'm taking a break, maybe I'm playing the second quarter and the fourth quarter or something like that, or the first or the third, or maybe the first three or something like that. But completely taking the game off, to me, that's just my opinion. I'm with KG on that. I'm playing because I want to play. Mo, I saw you drop in here.
Now, I'm gonna say this real quick. I had to go back and watch it because I hadn't seen the clip, and I wanted to make sure that just see how he approached it. And yeah, I'm with you. I agree 100% with KG. I don't understand why this type of stuff is not important to these younger players now. Why showing up for every game possible is not important the way it used to be, right? I mean, on one hand, you sit here and talk about how we come out here, we get the fans their money's worth because they spent their hard-earned money. Well, show up to the games. That's the audacity to say that I'm not going to do back-to-backs. I mean, who are you to say that? Come on, man. I mean, no player in the league should, even if you believe that, even if you feel that, even if that's your intention, to come out and say that, come on, man, get out of here, man.
And
I'm old
and,
school,
and
bro.
yeah, and I'm just saying, like, this seems to be predetermined before the season even start. I get it if you're in the season, it's just like, yo, there's too much pressure, on his body, for this particular guy or whatever. We need to figure out something that's going to help him get through the season, and maybe on this back to back, we do take a break or something like that. You make that assessment based on the current data that you have. But to start the season out already just like, nah, I'm ain't no back to back,
Mm-mm.
like you said, it's not going to be taken good. It's not a good look. Like you just said, you got people who pay money, people who save up, people who can't just go to the games and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
they're there to see you. They're not there to see the ref. They're not there to see the mascot.
Yeah.
They're not there to see who's playing in your place.
If I'm
They
the
are
owner,
there to see you.
if I'm the owner of that team, I got a problem with that because just like you said, they coming to see you. You coming out telling the world that you're not doing back to backs, then that may have impact ticket sales. Who knows? Like, nah, bro, we can't do that, man.
Yeah. I'm not buying any tickets. If I look at the schedule and I see it's a back to back, I'm not buying any tickets for that.
Yeah, real quick before I get out of here, man. Some quick breaking news, man. Debo Samuel is hospitalized with pneumonia.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, yeah, that kind of
Okay.
explained, what was going on with him
Yeah, what
yesterday.
was going on with
Prayers up to
him?
Debo, man.
Yes. Yes. All right. Last thing before we get up out of here, man. We're gonna stay in the NBA. Is we got storylines, right? We got a ton of storylines that we're gonna be looking at. So these are some real quick. I'm gonna shoot them out to you. Of storylines that we're gonna keep track on. And one that you see already on there, you got the Boston Celtics. Look, can they repeat? Can they go back? Can they do it again? Because obviously there's some changes that happen in the Eastern Conference that they're trying to impact that back-to-back championship happening, right? You see Bronny there, right? Yeah, obviously we're going to be talking about Bronny and where is he at? What is he playing? What is he doing? How many points did he score? Did he get dunked on? Did he dunk on anybody? It's him and LeBron. What are they doing? Oh, he throw a oop to his daddy and all that stuff. So we're going to be talking about Bronny. I think probably the biggest story and that will be talked about because you have the Spurs. I think that's going to be a big story with Wembanyama. You have the 76ers as far as like what, adding Paul George. You have Dallas with Clay and what they're going to do. But I think the biggest story, and this is the get ready. I keep telling y'all, get ready because the tide is getting even bigger and bigger and bigger. It's the New York Knicks, man. We're going to be talking about New York probably a lot, man. You got everything: Cat, Bridges, Brunson, Tibbs. Everybody gonna be playing, 47 minutes. And ain't gonna be no back to backs there in New York. Everybody gonna be playing back to backs in New York, so you ain't gotta worry about that. But this is a big storyline, I think, and this is what I have wanted, because I continue to say time in and time out that the NBA is always great when the New York Knicks are relevant, and they are relevant. So this is going to be a team, I think, that's really going to be trying to rival Boston. So that matchup against Boston, more than anything, New York, I'm sure they're going to try and get some payback against Indiana as well. I know they want to beat, Philly. But I think they got their eyes really set on the Boston Celtics and just saying, "Look, we'll deal with everybody else's, but this is who we want." And I'm kind of surprised. I think, you know what, Mo? I don't think we're going to talk about Milwaukee as much as we think we are. I'm hoping I'm wrong on that, but I just got this feeling. We'll be talking about somebody else, more than the Milwaukee Bucks. But bunch of storylines on there. But the New York Knicks, son, New York, and I'm not a Knicks fan, so don't think I'm saying this, but this is what it is. The New York Knicks, son, they're gonna be in the news. They're gonna be everywhere, and we're gonna be talking about them. So hopefully everybody can stay healthy on this team, because it's going to make for a great season. And I'm going to tick Mo off before we get out of here. That man, this is the last year of inside NBA. With TNT and Charles Barkley and Ernie and Kenny and Shaq. Mo got his way. They moving on. No, that's not cool. That's not cool. So let's celebrate. Let's celebrate this final year of them guys. And
Hey, maybe the NBA we can make the NBA great again.
you are diabolical. You know that. Oh my gosh. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, y'all already know, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, share, and all that stuff, man. Check out previous episodes, and everything. And we'll come back next week, continue on with this thing, man. Two things, right? One, Toy Drive is on its way. Be on the lookout for that. The Wait a Minute Show Toy Drive is going to be kicking off, and we'll be talking about that more in the future. But everybody be good out there. Two things as always. Stay positive and push forward. And I'll holler at y'all later. Mo, let's go.